So today's presentation is called College Admissions in the Time of COVID-19. It is the first in a series of seminars, webinars that Elite Prep will be offering free of charge to you, parents and students. There is really no need to take notes unless you really want to. If you're kind of an obsessive note taker, then feel free. But your local Elite Prep branch director will have access to this presentation. So you can review it with your local branch director whenever you like. I won't be taking questions right now, but I will. But if you could type in your Q&A in the Q&A box, I'll try to answer them at the very end. Okay. Thank you very much. So first question we received was, what should I do now that the April ACT has been postponed? You know, the most helpful thing I think I can point out is the updates page on the ACT website itself, and that's the URL for the ACT COVID-19 updates. You can also just Google ACT COVID-19 and you will get to this page. What you'll learn on this page is that the April 4th test has been rescheduled for June 13, 2020. And if you were previously registered for April, look for an email from ACT with instructions on how to register for June 13th or for another future test date. There's also a test date on July 18, but there are far fewer testing centers for the July test takers. So yesterday I tried registering for the June test in San Francisco, and there were no more spots in San Francisco, but there were spots available like 30 minutes away, 45 minutes away in Vallejo. So if you don't mind driving 45 minutes to a testing center, then you can still take the June test. The thing about July is the ACT relies on schools to staff the testing centers whenever there's a test administration. So very few schools are operating and have sufficient staff to proctor tests for the July ACT administration. I did find 2 schools in the San Francisco area, again, none in San Francisco, but in Oakland and in San Rafael, there were high schools that were functioning as testing centers for the July ACT. So, so let's talk then about, someone also asked, which one should I take? The June or the July ACT? Is one better to take than the other? Well, as with most things in college admissions, there's pros and cons, right, to either one. The pros for June is that there are more testing centers available than in July. You can get the test over with sooner rather than later. The cons for June 13th are that students will be studying for finals while they are also studying for the ACT. And especially private high schools, which tend to get out later than the public schools, June 13th is pretty much right after finals time, finals week. So there is that possible conflict studying for ACT and finals at the same time. The pros for taking the ACT in July, students can do some intensive study after school gets out before the July test. So when school gets out, no more having to worry about, you know, regular school's homework and activities and things like that. So you can do a little bit of intensive study before the July 18th test. The cons are, as I said, far fewer testing centers than available in June. You might be driving a very long way to take the ACT in July. Okay, so here are the remaining ACT administrations before the UC and Cal State deadline, which is November 30. Okay, June 13, July 18, September 12, and October 24th are all going to get you a score in time to report for the even the UC and Cal State deadline of November 30th. But when people ask which one is better to take, June or July, they're typically thinking of, well, isn't there like a statistical advantage to taking the less popular test date, right? Or what if all the smart people are taking the test in June? Won't that raise the curve for me? So the thing about the ACT is It's a norm referenced test. There is no advantage or disadvantage in terms of test difficulty between the June and July test dates because it is a norm referenced test. Norm referenced test means everyone taking the test is compared to the same norming group. How you perform compared to others taking the test with you that month is not important. It's about how you performed on your test compared to the norming group. So you are being graded on a curve, but you're not being curved against the person sitting next to you in the testing center. Everyone taking the test is being curved against the norming group. And so that, in that respect, it doesn't matter whether you take the test in June or July with smart people or less smart people, that doesn't matter. Okay, so hopefully that alleviates some concern. It doesn't matter when you take this test, it's the same difficulty no matter when or where you take it. That's the very definition of a standardized test. And the same logic applies to the SAT. The SAT is also a norm referenced test. So if you were scheduled for April and now you're looking at June or July for your ACT retake, pick whatever one works better for you, but don't pick it based on you think that there's more smart people in one month or the other. Okay? Speaking of SAT, what should I do now that the May SAT has been canceled? Well, again, one of the most useful places to go is the COVID-19 update page for the SAT itself. And that's the URL for, the SAT, COVID-19 update page. So as you probably know, especially if you were signed up for them, the March and May test administrations have been canceled. If you were previously registered, look for an email from the College Board with instructions on how to re-register. The next test date is June 6, 2020, and that is a test date for both the subject tests and the SAT. It is still on as of this writing, as of this webinar right now. College Board still plans on having the test on June 6 for both the SAT and the subject tests. And then here are the remaining SAT and subject test administrations before the UC and Cal State deadline. Those would be June 6th, August 29, October 3rd, and November 7th. Okay, so 4 more dates, assuming they don't cancel June, and I don't think they will. 4 more dates for the SAT and the subject tests until in time for the Cal State and UC deadline of November 30. Okay, speaking of subject tests, should I still take the subject test, or should I be mainly focusing on getting a good SAT score given that there are fewer test dates now? So the answer is, if you really are in a time crunch, then yes, focus on SAT or ACT, and these take priority because unless you are applying to a test optional college, SAT and ACT are still required. Those are required tests. If the college is not test optional, then the SAT and the ACT is required, whereas the subject tests are optional, or in some cases, strongly recommended. It's technically not a requirement, right? The thing about strong recommendations though is, if that's your #1 choice school, for example, Georgetown, if Georgetown is your #1 choice school, Georgetown actually is an outlier. They strongly recommend 3 subject tests. If you don't, whereas most colleges recommend 2, but if Georgetown is your top choice and you don't do your subject tests, then you're kind of telling them that they're not really that important to you, the applicant, right? So if it's your top choice school and they have a strong recommendation, follow the strong recommendation. However, if it is a time crunch, if you don't have enough time to study for both SAT and subject tests, then focus on SAT because that is the required test. Okay, but if you can do both, then study for both. Obviously, having a good score on a subject test will help your chances for admission. Any good score on an optional standardized test, and remember, AP exams are also optional, that will always help your chances for admission, okay? And if you're applying as an engineering major, colleges strongly recommend math level 2 and a science subject test score as part of your application. Okay, is it true that some colleges are making SAT and ACT optional for the applications in fall 2020? So yes, it is, but not because of COVID-19. The colleges that have made the SAT and ACT optional for applications in fall 2020 were already going to go test optional anyway. It's just that the COVID-19 pandemic hastened their announcement. It kind of sped up their decision-making timeline. So Case Western Reserve University in Cleveland and Tufts University in Boston are now test optional for fall 2020 applications, but the decision was going to be made. They already had decided to be test optional, but they just decided to announce it sooner since COVID-19 happened now. The public schools in Oregon, University of Oregon and Oregon State University are test optional now, but that had nothing to do with COVID-19, right? They were always going to go test optional, and it just happened to coincide with this month. Same with Chapman University and University of Redlands. They were both going to go test optional anyway. It just happens that they announced it during the COVID-19 pandemic. Pitzer College was already test optional before COVID-19. And I mentioned Pitzer specifically because my son is going to go there in the fall. I just wanted to give a shout out to my kid's school. It's a great liberal arts college down in Southern California. And we're very happy that he's going there. And yes, I totally appreciate the irony that the son of a guy who runs a test prep center is going to a test optional college. The irony is not lost on me, but it was the great fit for him. Okay, when will UC decide if it will make the SAT or ACT optional? Now, this doesn't exactly have anything to do with the COVID-19 pandemic, but speaking of my family, my wife asked this question when she registered for the webinar, and I'm sure that if I don't answer her question during the webinar, I will get in trouble when I get home. So allow me to, if you'll indulge me, I'm gonna answer my wife's question. When will UC decide if it will make the SAT or ACT optional? Well, the UC Board of Regents will vote in May 2020 on whether to continue requiring an SAT or ACT score as part of the UC application. The faculty task force that researched the issue of whether UC should become test optional already announced back in February that UC should not eliminate SAT or ACT as a requirement. However, the chair and the vice chair of the UC Regents have already announced that they are opposed to standardized tests. So we will see. When they vote in May, it's going to be a fight, and we don't know really what's going to happen. This topic allows me to advertise for a future Road to Success webinar where we will talk about UC and standardized tests and SAT versus ACT and things like that. So stay tuned for that. And Mary Joy, I've answered your question. Don't be mad at me when I get home. Thank you. All right, back to COVID-19. How has COVID-19 affected the AP exams scheduled for May 2020? Here is where I think the biggest changes have happened in the AP, dealing with the AP exams. So the first thing is, you should, again, check the College Board's AP COVID-19 update page for the latest news about changes to AP exams because of the pandemic. That's the URL for the AP COVID-19 update page, but again, you can just Google AP exam COVID-19. The first major change, there will be no face-to-face in-person exams this year. The test will not be given at school, and it will not be given paper and pencil at your high school. Instead, the AP exams will be taken on computer, tablet, or smartphone, or if you live in a household that has no internet access, you can take the exams by hand and then snap a photo on your camera, on your phone, phone's camera, snap a photo of your answers and then email them in later. So the AP exams will be 45-minute free response exams this year. No multiple choice questions this year. Entirely free response answers, 45 minutes long only instead of 3 hours long. Also, what the AP exams this May will cover has been truncated. The tests will only cover the first 75% of the curriculum, that is, what students learned through early March 2020. The units toward the end of the curriculum will not be tested on. And again, if you go to the College Board AP COVID-19 update page, It will give you more details about what exactly in the curriculum is covered and will not be covered on the AP exams in May. We don't know when the AP exams will be yet. Traditionally, the first 2 full weeks of May are AP exam season. But since there is no AP exams at schools this year, College Board has announced that you will have 2 dates, an earlier date and a later date to take your AP exam. That's just because some students will want to get the test over with earlier. Some students will feel like they need a little more time to prepare before they take the 45-minute free response exam. And so on Friday, April 3rd, College Board will announce the dates, the schedule for the take-home computerized free response AP exams this year, okay? So you have to stay tuned because there's no definitive answers yet on when the early date will be and the later date will be. But every AP exam, every test taker will be given a choice between the earlier date and the later date to take the AP exam. You can get a refund if you feel like this is just too much to handle and you can't deal with it, then you could get a refund for your AP exam for May 2020. I don't advise it. I don't advise getting a refund. I advise sticking it out and really just trying to do your best on these exams. And here's why. These are optional tests, right? No college in America, not even Stanford or MIT or the most selective colleges in America, Harvard, Yale, Princeton. None of these schools require AP exams. They're all optional, right? But if you can do well on an optional test, it enhances your chances of getting in. Now, what if you don't pass an optional test? Well, then it's neutral, not negative on your application. They can't punish you for taking an optional test. So it's a no-lose situation taking an AP exam. If you do well, it enhances your application. If you don't do well, it's neutral, not negative on your application. So do your best for your AP exams this May. It'll be a very difficult adjustment for sure, but difficult doesn't mean impossible. So give it a shot, okay? Also, there's some questions came in about how will College Board ensure security for AP exams. There's software that they can use that'll make sure you're not copying and pasting answers from the internet, things like that. So there are security measures in place for that. So how can I prepare for my AP exams if my school is closed? Well, there are free resources and there are paid resources, right? The free resources are the College Board AP online classes. There's some live streaming of review sessions given by AP teachers across the country. Then there's also the Khan Academy online web tutorials. That's the one for AP Stats. Then there's the paid resources. Elite offers premier tutoring. We offer prep classes for subject tests and AP tests. And then we also are offering now this spring what we're calling like an emergency AP course. So if you need to add or would like to add an AP course to your GPA, we have elite blended learning classes through Elite Open School in AP Psychology and AP Computer Science Principles. It's basically, AP Psychology is a 1-semester class, and through Elite Open School, if you're diligent during this time when school is closed, you can get through the entire AP Psychology semester and take the AP exam next May, not this May. But you can take an AP class through Elite Open School and boost your GPA that way. So free, again, there's also free resources. So there's free resources and paid resources. My feeling is most people will benefit from a paid from a live teacher versus an online video tutorial. It's kind of like going to the gym, right? If you're really serious about getting in shape, then generally you'll hire a personal trainer to push you harder than you would push yourself and to show you how to do the techniques properly. So if you have the time and inclination, take a look into the elite resources we have to help you prepare for the AP classes, the AP test, and maybe add an AP class this semester since you don't have school right now anyway. Okay, many colleges are closed to campus visits. How can I choose a college without visiting? So traditionally, now would be the time when admitted students go visit colleges to see what they have to offer so that you can make your college decisions in the most informed way possible. And then juniors and sophomores would also use spring break to go tour colleges and see what student life is like at the colleges they're thinking of applying to. You can't do that anymore because of COVID-19. So how can you visit campuses without visiting the campuses? This is a list of basically virtual college tours. And some of them are actually pretty good. My favorites are actually uvisit.com because there's, the screen looks like Google Street View, except on the college campus. And then there's a little figure of a tour guide in the lower right-hand corner talking to you and kind of, virtually showing you around their campus, right? The tour guides are always existing students, current students at the campuses. It's kind of a cool virtual visit. And if you go to these 6 UC schools websites, then it'll just redirect you to the uvisit.com. Uvisit.com is the virtual tour for these UC schools. If you want to visit a UC school, then this is the way to go, uvisit.com. I also like campusreal.org, not .com, but .org, campusreal.org, because a lot of these videos are student produced. They're sort of like, homebrew videos done by the students themselves on their phone. So some of them are very candid, they're very honest. You get kind of an honest look at the schools. There's more than 15,000 video tours of campus and dorm life recorded by students from the schools themselves. Okay, so those are my 2 favorites, uvisit.com and campusreal.org. Take a look at them. It's not the same thing as visiting the school itself, but there you go. How will colleges view grades given out during the spring 2020 semester? Okay, well, they will be more understanding about the context of grades. So if you have pass, not pass grades this semester, colleges will understand why, right? When you're a senior, and you're filling out your college applications, you should use the additional comment section on the UC application and the additional information section on the common application to remind application readers that your spring 2020 semester coincided with the COVID-19 pandemic. That'll give the context that the application reader needs to get a sense of maybe your grades dropped in the spring 2020 semester. Maybe there are no grades in spring 2020 semester. So you can use the additional comment section to give that context that the application readers need to get the fuller picture of your situation. My advice is this: do not make COVID-19 the focus of a college application essay. Use the additional comment section. Do not make it an actual personal statement or college application essay. You do not want to be the 23rd COVID-19 personal statement that the application reader is reading that day. Okay, so everyone's going through COVID-19 and everyone's having a hard time with it. So there's going to be a lot of COVID-19 essays. Do not be one of these people that is drawing from a very cliche well, Grades still matter. And spring 2020 is only 1 semester of your GPA. So, hopefully you weren't planning on making spring 2020 if you 1 semester you're going to get A's. Hopefully you've been doing well in other semesters as well, not just this semester. Can I build a competitive college application? My extracurricular activities have been canceled. The answer is yes, of course. You should remind application readers of the contexts, my son's jazz band concert, school jazz band concert was canceled because of COVID-19. If he were a junior, when he was a senior, he would have just written up about how that was canceled in the additional comment section. But surely you've done things in other semesters, right? Hopefully you're not planning to do everything in this 1 spring 2020 semester, right? Hopefully you've done things throughout your high school career. Hopefully you weren't saving yourself for spring 2020 for the semester you were going to climb Mount Everest this semester, and then now it's canceled by COVID-19. You got nothing to show for it. I doubt that's any of you out there. Surely you've done stuff in other semesters as well. It is difficult for sure that your activities have been canceled for this semester, but just draw on other activities you've already done or that you will do. So talk to your local elite branch director for suggestions on what to do if your activities have been canceled. But again, spring 2020 is just a sliver of your total high school experience. It was technically, you know, 1/8 of your high school experience. But focus on your accomplishments in prior and subsequent semesters, okay? All right, school is canceled until May. What should I do until then? There's a lot. My first thing on top of my list is read a book. In fact, read several books while school is out of session. Elite Prep SF, in fact, started an online book club. Read. Do not let your brain turn to mush just because school is out. Okay, young minds need stimulation, need academic and intellectual stimulation. Read a book, 50 minutes a day. That's all I'm asking, 50 minutes a day. If you want to do 30 minutes every other day, great. But 50 minutes a day, any book, read. Do not let your mind turn to mush. If you're a creative person, compose, write, program, build, or draw something. Okay? Now you have time, you have downtime. You know, so that, you know, that book, that short story you've always wanted to write, now's the time to write it. Go write it. You've got downtime. You've got pencil and paper, right? You've got a computer, right? So do that creative project you've always been thinking of doing. Or you can start drafting your college application essays, but realize that they are subject to revision later, right? You might become smarter later on about what makes a good college application essay. You might attend the Elite College Application Workshop and realize that the first draft you wrote is not going to be very helpful and you have to revise it. So go ahead and start drafting, but realize that you'll probably be revising them later. If you want help now, you want to bounce ideas now off of an Elite counselor, just talk to your local Elite branch and they can set you up with someone who can help you draft your college application essays and brainstorm now. And obviously this is for juniors only. All the other grades is either too late or too early to be drafting college application essays. Again, for juniors only, create your resume for college application purposes. You'll need it eventually. You might as well make it now. Study for the SAT or the ACT. Again, there's 4 test dates for SAT and ACT before the November 30 deadline. So study for those tests. You have downtime now. You have time on your hands now, okay? Apply to scholarships. This is for seniors. You have downtime, apply to scholarships. And for any kind of help you might need, just go to eliteprep.com. We are happy to help you. We're working remotely in San Francisco, so you can make video conferences with us, and many of the Elite branches are doing the same. You can meet remotely, online, via phone or video connection. So we're here to help. We're operating during the shutdown because we're considered an essential business, because we provide remote distance learning. Okay, so we're in operation. Just reach out to us, reach out to your local branch. We're happy to help. What are some of the other changes that have happened in college admissions because of COVID-19? Well, some colleges have extended the deadline for the statement of intent to register beyond May 1st. So for example, some colleges have extended their SIR deadline to June 1st. You can check the NACAC COVID-19 update page, and I'll give you the URL towards the end of the presentation. But it has a database of which colleges have extended their deadlines for registering for seniors who have been accepted to colleges. Some summer study abroad programs and some summer bridge programs like Northeastern's NUN might be affected by this global pandemic. Check the college's website for updates. NUN is an interesting, so the way Northeastern does is study abroad, you do your study abroad in your fall semester freshman year. So if you've been accepted to Northeastern and you're scheduled to go to Greece for your freshman semester, fall semester study abroad, that might be affected. But again, check the website. The college's website to see what the updates are. As of today, no college that I know of has lowered its tuition deposit because of COVID-19, but that might change. I mean, it changes almost on a daily basis, it seems. What has not changed? Okay, one thing that has not changed are appeals. So seniors and parents of seniors, if the student was rejected from a college or waitlisted to a college, appeals are not going to work more easily because of COVID-19, right? Appeals will still only work if you have additional information that was not present at the time of the original application. If your appeal entirely consists of take a look at my application again, surely you missed how awesome I am the first time you reviewed it, then surely the appeal will fail, even in the era of COVID-19. Appeals will be as rigorous and as difficult to accomplish as before the pandemic. So appeals and the difficulty of getting in through appeal has not changed. Something else that has not changed, the selectivity and competitiveness of colleges. COVID-19 did not make Stanford or any other highly selective college easier to get into. Colleges are not becoming less selective because of the pandemic, right? It's not World War II. Like World War II, not all, but a significant chunk of the college-age young men in America went off to war. So yes, during that time, colleges were less selective, but I hope you're not praying for a world war so that your kid can get into Stanford, right? That would be terrible. So COVID-19 is not the same as World War II. It did not make colleges less competitive. SAT and ACT scores will still matter. GPA will still matter. Extracurricular activities will still matter. Leadership will still matter. You just have to remind the colleges of the context of COVID-19 and how your high school experience was shaped or affected by it. What else has not changed? As far as I know, the fall 2020 application deadlines have not changed, at least not yet. There's no word so far that colleges have pushed back the application deadlines for the class of 2021 current high school juniors, next year's seniors. So for now, still plan on November 1st, and sometimes for some schools, November 15th being the early admissions deadline, November 30th being the UC and Cal State deadline, and January 1st, sometimes January 15th being the regular admissions deadline for private colleges. Okay, so far the application deadlines for the fall have not changed. What else has not changed? Standardized tests for college admissions are still required unless the college is already test optional. Now, it's been reported in the news that the Trump administration will allow states to cancel the mandatory standardized tests in kindergarten through 12th grade because of COVID-19. For example, Governor Newsom in California has already canceled standardized testing for K through 12. That's standardized testing for the purposes of state standards and competency. And so public school students take standardized tests to make sure that they've reached a minimum level of competency within the curriculum. That is not the same as the SAT or the ACT. So the SBAC, for example, the Smarter Balanced Assessment Consortium, that's a standardized test given to elementary school students in California. That is now, that's what's been canceled. That state standards testing has been canceled. But this decision does not affect SAT and ACT. So unless you're applying to a test optional school like University of Chicago, Tufts University, or George Washington University, then you will still need to submit a standardized test score with your application. But if you're curious to know what colleges are test optional, go to fairtest.org and check out the list of test optional colleges and universities. There's more than 1,000 now. And you can scroll through and see if your school is, if the school you're interested in is test optional on fairtest.org. Okay, we're almost at the end here. So other useful resources, the NACAC College Admissions Status Update page. NACAC is the National Association for College Admission Counseling, and it is sort of the umbrella organization for the college admissions industry in the United States. And it's got a website, a database, where it's compiling whether colleges are closed to visitors, whether colleges are still hosting admissions events, and which colleges and universities have pushed back their statement of intent to register deadlines. So you can go to this website and type in the name of your college that you're interested in and see whether they are doing campus tours. Most of them, I can tell you, are not. Some of them are, surprisingly. Some colleges were still open during when I last looked, but that might have changed. Again, the situation changes on almost a daily basis. But really, the most helpful tool is just go to the college websites themselves. They all have COVID-19 update pages. And if you want to know what's going on that campus, that's an even better place to look than the NACAC update page. Okay, so now let me go to the live Q&A. Let me see what, and you'll have to bear with me while I scroll through some of these. Now, here's the thing. Many of these questions are I can see are specific to your specific situation. And if that's the case, if you have a question about your specific situation, the best person to talk to is your local branch director. So just talk to your local branch director for help with your specific situation. And I will try to address, in the last 5 minutes we have, I'll try to address questions that might be of relevance to the whole audience in today's webinar. If I can't attend a summer program due to COVID-19, how does that impact my admissions prospects? So some students were planning on going to, maybe Stanford University to do the pre-medical summer experience there. That's been, if that's canceled, they can't do that anymore. You're going to have to just find something else to do. I mean, it's unfortunate for sure. But again, talk to your local branch director and get bounce some ideas off of that person as to what to do to fill in the opportunity that you're not going to miss out on. It's unfortunate, and I feel bad that many of you are experiencing this cancellation of your summer plans. You'll figure it out. I have every confidence you will figure it out, and Elite's here to help for sure. Is this session being recorded? Yes, it's being recorded, and we will publish it to our YouTube channel, the Elite Prep YouTube channel, after today's live webinar. Given that some parents are not working and not getting paid, will more financial aid be offered from colleges for fall 2020? That is a very good question, and I think that question is best answered by the colleges themselves. So you'll have to contact the College Financial Aid Office to see. So for seniors, I can tell you that financial aid for seniors has already been determined because the FAFSA application was due back in February, right? So current seniors, class of 2020, your financial aid has already been allotted by the school. So if your financial situation has changed, then it'll be, you will absolutely have to contact the college to inform them of what happened and to see whether there's any way to adjust your award, given that you the parent's not working now. So the best way to do it is contact the school that you've been accepted to and see what they can do. I hate to tell you this, but I think it's going to be very unlikely that they can do very much in terms of adjusting your award. So what they might tell you is, well, we'll make up for it next year or something like that. For the parents of juniors, if you're not working right now, then this presumably will affect your W-2 statement for 2020. And if that's the case, then that will be reported on the FAFSA, the free application for federal student aid, when your students are applying for college next year. So it will be factored into your family income on the FAFSA if you're a junior, if your student is a junior or younger. For seniors, you'll have to contact the colleges and see if they can adjust the award somehow, given the current situation. Okay, and how will colleges look at the cancellation of certain test dates? For example, the April ACT and then the March and May SAT. I have a feeling they'll tell you there are other test dates. You had 4 other tries before even the November 30th deadline. That's the answer. They'll say, I'm sorry that the test date you wanted to take has been canceled. You got other bites at the apple in July, September, right, for ACT, in August, October for the SAT. So I have a feeling they'll be less forgiving if you don't turn in an SAT score, because it'll be hard to argue that, well, I was scheduled to take the SAT in May, got canceled, and I couldn't get my act together to take it again in August, October, or November, right? I mean, it's that's an unlikely story. So yes, you have fewer test dates, but you still have in the opinion, in the college's opinion, you still have plenty of test dates, okay? So we're 1 minute to the end of our webinar today. So let me just say that's all the time we have for today. But as I mentioned earlier, if I wasn't able to get to your question today, please contact your local elite branch. Our branch directors and counselors are ready with answers and guidance for you. You can find contact information for all our branches at eliteprep.com. And if you are looking for some help getting through this time, let us know how we can help. Elite Prep is currently offering all of our test prep, tutoring, and college counseling services online. And if you would like to learn more about our SAT or ACT prep, AP prep, or college application services, or any of our other online programs, just go to eliteprep.com and click the big yellow button at the top of the page that says, Learn More About Elite Online Programs. Then just fill out the form, and one of our counselors will get back to you as soon as possible. Also, we've got more webinars coming up in the series, so keep an eye out in your email. We'd love to have you back for future events in the seminar series. Thank you again, everyone, for your time and attention today. Everyone stay safe, and we will see you next time. Take care.